unfathomable strength in the gym, and in most movements too. And a lot of times he had to lighten the weight up purposely because, he wasn't working the right muscle because he was that strong. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
What will cause more water retention, EQ or Deca?
If you're dieting on a low-carb diet, you're going to get no water retention on either one of them. So water retention is really a factor of carbohydrate intake, because I can get fluid retention on no anabolics just from eating a lot of carbs. I know a lot of guys that could do that. Yeah, do anabolics make you a little bit more fluid retentive? Or sensitive to that? Yeah, usually it's due to high estrogen, believe it or not, that's doing that. Deca and equipoise are pretty comparable in terms of their effects and strength, as far as my experience goes, working with both of them and using both of them. And myself, I don't feel one gave better than the other. I think they both make you hungry. They both give you a really good pump. They raise red blood cell count approximately similarly. Some people don't like Deca only because they have erection issues on it, because it can raise prolactin. But Deca has the added benefit of giving you a very good anti-inflammatory effect in your body, so your joints feel really good on it. EQ doesn't seem to have any negative sex effects, so it doesn't seem to inhibit erections or sex drive. It makes you insanely hungry, and it gives you a good pump. So a lot of people like EQ better. I think I might grow better on EQ. I could use a little bit more than Deca without having to worry about any side effects. But I think they're comparable as far as bloating goes. And some people are more sensitive to one than the other. It's not like a definitive thing, because I think some people, produce more estrogen in response to each drug. Like I said, some people they cannot take any Deca. It just destroys their sex drive and they get really bloated. But I didn't have that experience myself. I find that I respond really well to Deca, almost too well to Deca. Like, I don't even have to take a lot of it, and I respond well. So sometimes less is better. I think that people get carried away with today's dosages that they have to take a lot of gear. And the truth is that if you're on 1,000 milligrams a week of testosterone, which is going to give you your base and pretty much build that's kind of the muscle building amount of the drugs you're going to take, and then you add a little bit of Deca or a little bit of EQ, it goes a long way. Back in the day, we only took 300 milligrams a week of EQ. No one took more than that, because there was only 50 milligrams per ml, so we would take 2 mLs every other day or something like that, and that was only 300 a week. Same thing with Deca. We took 400 milligrams of Deca a week. No one thought to take more than that. Nowadays, guys are taking 900 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams of Deca a week. Of course, you're going to get more side effects, and you get more bloating from that. Go lower on your anabolics and higher on your testosterone, you're going to get better results, and you're going to have less side effects. I can promise you that.
A question about traveling as a bodybuilder. What's one supplement or item you cannot forget to bring when traveling as a bodybuilder? And it doesn't specify if you're traveling for a show or just in prep, but you, in your career, what was something you had to bring when traveling?
I'll tell you one thing. If you're traveling for a show, which a lot of times most bodybuilders are, very few bodybuilders are traveling just because they have to travel. But if you're going for a show, take your posing trunks that you have and bring them in your carry-on bag, because anything else you can lose. It doesn't matter if you because you're going to check luggage in. Ultimately, you might have your anabolics in there and stuff like that. food in there. You can give up anything. You cannot not have your trunks. Always bring your posing trunks with you on the plane, even if they stick them in your coat pocket. That's something you never want to not travel with. Because I've seen guys luggage lost, and then they don't have any trunks to wear. And they got to try to borrow some from someone else. They don't fit right. Always bring your posing trunks. And as a woman, always bring your posing suit with you on your person. Bring it on the plane with you. Obviously, bringing food with you too, so you can get. And I can't look. I got delayed this past time going to Mexico, and I think it was like it took me an extra 6 hours to get there or something like that. I bring emergency food now with me. Like I always pack more meals than I need. People are like, what do you have 3 meals with you for? Because I'm like, because when you get delayed, you have food to eat. And I got delayed on the airplane. The thing was sitting on the runway for like 3 hours. No one wanted to get off because they were afraid. They said, if you get off, you may never take off today. You may never get to the connecting area. So I stayed on the plane. People were starving. They were like begging for pretzel bags. I had 3 food meals with me. So bring your food, bring your posing trunks.
Good question about Greg Kovacs. It's from Tony Wynn. I was watching the latest episode of the Think Big Bodybuilding podcast. It was about Greg Kovacs, one strong monster. You were good friends, and did you train at all with him? If so, what was that experience like?
Maybe you could pull a picture up of him and say, well,
yeah.
Greg was, and I did train with him. I stayed with him a lot of times up in Canada with him and his wife, and they were very gracious and great hosts. And I know Nasser got caught up there also. Nasser's had a passport issue. He got stuck there for like a couple of weeks up there. But I was up there with Greg, and I went to the gym. And, it's funny because, Greg liked to train on like Smith machine. He liked to do like shoulder presses on the Smith machine and bench. And you'd be like, this guy, he's not training with free weights. That's not a real exercise. I'm telling you, the guy lifted so much weight on that Smith machine. I don't even know how the Smith machine held the weight he was lifting. He was bench pressing like 700 pounds on the Smith machine. Now, granted, it's easier. It's definitely easier because you don't have to stabilize, but that's a lot of weight to push. And he was doing good form, controlling the weight. And, he was very strong in the gym. He was like almost like he had that like retard strength, like just unfathomable strength in the gym and in most movements too. And a lot of times he had to lighten the weight up purposely because, he wasn't working the right muscle because he was that strong. So he trained hard. Greg liked, he would go back to the gym twice too. He loved the whole process of bodybuilding, the eating. I mean, I've never seen anyone eat more. His wife would have meals prepped. It was like on clockwork. If he's eating every 2 hours, if we would wake up at 10 in the morning, there'd be breakfast there. 12 o'clock, there would be a shake waiting for us. 1 o'clock after that, we would have another meal waiting for us. It was like all day long. It was like eight meals a day or something like that he was doing and shakes. And, he had the time to go to the gym, and everything was scheduled with him, which was great. Because, if you go hang out with someone, it's nice when they're just as disciplined as you are. And because he loved bodybuilding, and he would sit around and watch bodybuilding videos, and, we would talk and shoot the shit. So, but yeah, he trained hard in the gym. There's not many people that train harder than him because he loved going to the gym. And I think that, when you have a love for what you do, you give 100%. And obviously he was enormous. There was no way he was building that much muscle. He was over 400 pounds, and he was pretty solid. So you don't build that kind of muscle lifting light weights.
Your thoughts on using wrist straps when doing back exercises?
Absolute necessity. 100. You have to use straps. I actually use like the grippers. They kind of Velcro around your wrist, and they have a little flap. I actually have my own brand of them called the Jumbo Palumbo grippers, and you can get them at davepalumbo.com. They're like Versa grippers almost. They're like a knockoff of them. But I like them better because I like the way the Velcro, covers my wrist. I had them specifically made for myself, and then people were asking me about them, so I made them. They say Jumbo Palumbo on the top, and they're very popular. The problem with training back is that you're always limited by the weak link, your forearms. So anytime you're pulling, your hand grip holding onto that bar is going to give out before your back does. So even Ronnie Coleman always used straps or grippers. He never trained. And Lonnie's about the strongest guy he could hang up because he knew that his back, his forearms and his arms, even though they were enormous, were his weak link. Not to mention that if he used his, if he didn't use grippers, he would actually use his arms too much and it would take away from his back. So you want to be able to almost take your hands off the bar and just have, just be holding the grippers by your fingers and pull from your back. And it really helps target that back and ensure that you're getting the maximum workout for your back. There's no, like I was rowing the 105 dumbbells today, which is the heaviest I've gone since I've had my shoulder replacements done. And there's no way I could do those just holding onto the dumbbell because my hand would give out after about 3 or 4 reps. But with the straps on, I was doing 8 reps with it, and so you're getting more reps out of it with good form. So you're going to develop the muscle much better that way. It's every back exercise you should use straps on.
A couple of good ones here. Are there any good site enhancement oils out there that are as good as Painless Pumps in your experience?
To me, the original Chris Clark pump and pose, synthesized pump and pose, that was the best one. The Painless Pumps that Steve DeLuca made, that unfortunately both him and Chris are passed, are the Painless Pumps was a good product too, and people liked it maybe better because it didn't leave you sore after. He had some sort of an electrolyte solution in there that kind of counteracted the dehydration that can cause that when you put oil into a muscle, the muscle releases a lot of enzymes to digest the oil, and it can dehydrate the muscle, and that's what causes the pain, believe it or not, because it causes a prostaglandin reaction. You could counteract that with taking like 2 Tylenol. You never want to take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen because that'll inhibit inflammation. We don't want to do that. But I used to take Tylenol to just take away the pain, but the Painless Pumps had an electrolyte solution that kind of counteracted that. There's no Painless Pumps anymore. There's some fake knockoffs out there, but they're not as good. Armand DB actually has a product on his website that's not too bad, that works pretty well, and you can check it out at his armanddb.com. Believe it or not, the people who took over Chris Clark's product in Germany contacted me recently. They have a new version of his product out there. I don't know where it's available. I won't be selling it probably just because I don't want to get involved with it, but I'm going to try to make it, find someone who can make it available here in the United States for people because it is a really good product. And his formula was the best one of them all. He invented the product after all. So everything else after Chris's was really a knockoff of Chris's product. And if it's used correctly, it looks good. If it's not used correctly, it looks terrible. It's an artistic thing, You can shoot, like Greg Valentino used to put test propionate into his arms. And, everyone thought he was using synthol. But no, it's because it was an oil. We injected a lot in there. So, but he overdid it by his own admission. And so it didn't look good. But most people still inject their body parts, including arms. They're just using, whether they're using test propionate, or they're using tested anthate, or they're using EQ, or they're using one of the site enhancement oils out there. The advantage of using a site enhancement oil is that you're not putting a ton of drugs into your body. So in other words, if you're using testosterone and you're injecting 3 cc's into each head of your bicep, that's a lot of testosterone. You're going to OD on the testosterone. So it's better to put something that has no drug in there, so you don't have to worry about having too much drug in your system and having side effects from it.
Take one last question. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll take one last question. Wrap this one up. Thick Pick recently tore my tricep, and I guess he's very frustrated. Small arms forever? ? Is my bodybuilding career finished? How do you get back? How do you bounce back from a torn tricep?
Well, first of all, you have to get surgery and get it fixed by a good doctor who's worked on athletes and understands that there's a cosmetic component to this repair. Okay, not just we're fixing it to fix it. We're fixing it because it needs to look good because I'm a bodybuilder. You have to impart that to the surgeon. And if the surgeon gives you, flack and doesn't seem to be on board with what you're telling him, then you got to find another surgeon. Okay. Will it ever be the same as the normal tricep or look like the original? No. When you tear a muscle, these surgeons will tell you, I'm reattaching it to a site that is not the same as the original site where it came from. So it will never look normal, okay? But it could look good. I mean, I've seen a lot of good repairs for biceps, triceps, pecs, and I've seen a lot of bad ones. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad ones out there, and we know those people who've had the bad ones done. So you got to research it, but you got to get it surgically fixed. Once you get it surgically fixed and you follow the protocol of the doctor, and if you want to use BPC 157, you want to use GH, you want to use a little Deca, you want to use, Arthrolyze, if you want to use all these things to help heal the injury, that's something you should definitely do. There's no doubt about that. Okay. But the key component to getting success long-term would be to get the thing repaired properly initially. If you leave it, okay, it's never going to look normal. You're going to be mad that you never got it fixed. You got to get it fixed. No one wants to go through the surgery. No one wants to do the rehab. No one wants to take the time off from the gym. I understand that, but shit happens. It's happened. I tore my quad on a staircase. Branch Warren slipped on the ice. Evan Santapani was walking down his flight of stairs in his basement. People, they get injured. It happens. We all get injured. It's how you recover and how you get through the adversity that really defines you as a person. Dorian tore a lot of muscles, and he was Mr. Olympia for 6 years. So, he did it. If he can do it, you can do it. It's just you have to have the mental fortitude and the willpower to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to surrender right now. I have no control of what's going on. Let me get it fixed. That's the main goal. And then I'll come back and I'm going to make a comeback. And that's how we overcome any obstacle in life. You have to have a plan. You have to execute it with precision and not worry about what other people are saying and what you're thinking in your mind, and come back from it better than you were before.